It's about time you did something for me anyway, because I've done something for you.
Jimmy Savile at Stoke Mandeville. He was boisterous and disruptive. He smelt, and junior staff knew him to be a sex pest and a lecher. Yet for over 20 years he was free to do as he pleased, protected by his celebrity. The hospital site was huge. As a volunteer porter he was able to roam at will. He had access to keys and to the mortuary. He had a bedroom and later a plush office. The investigations into Savile's time at Stoke Mandeville found 63 known victims of abuse. The youngest was 8, the oldest 40. They included patients and staff, visitors and fundraisers. Just under half were under 16, some bedridden with severe injuries. Most were abused in the 1970s and 80s. Savile's behaviour ranged from inappropriate touching to 5 cases of rape. Many, like this woman, made no complaint.
I was too worried to tell anyone, though I vaguely remember speaking to the ward sister. But I wouldn't have told anyone else because I was too embarrassed, because he's Jimmy Savile. Don't want to get him into trouble. It's sort of, he's Jimmy Savile. I couldn't say a bad word against him because everyone looked up to him so much.
The report's authors say 10 victims did complain, most informally, but senior managers were never told. The one formal complaint was dropped by the girl's father because she was so ill.
We say in the report that had this complaint been managed properly, Savile would probably have been apprehended at that point. So whether the complainant's father dropped the complaint or not, all of those staff involved, whoever they were, we haven't been able to trace them, failed in their duty to protect.
The report shows that Jimmy Savile sometimes behaved quite literally as if he owned Stoke Mandeville. In the early 1990s, he threatened to sue the hospital over the ownership of the National Spinal Injuries Unit there, which his charity had helped to fund. He claimed it was the charity, not the NHS, that owned the unit. It's a measure of quite how out of control he'd become. Savile was a tireless fundraiser. That made him powerful. The Spinal Injuries Unit was too big, and the hospital couldn't afford to run it without the extra cash he raised. Today, the hospital says it has policies in place to safeguard patients and encourage staff to speak out. The report says if NHS staff don't speak out, a similar situation could happen again. Nick Hyam, BBC News, Central London.